Good day. I am Clinical Clerk Dave Marquez from Cebu Institute of Medicine, and I am going to demonstrate how to do splinting of the lower leg. The following are the materials needed: elastic bandages with clips, the prime splints, the stockinette, tape measure, and scissors. Now, after preparing the materials needed, make sure to wash your hands, introduce yourself, and explain the procedure to the patient.
May buntag ma'am, ako dahil si Clerk Marquez, karon kay mubutang ko og splint sa imong fractured nga leg ha para makatabang siya nga maayo. Okay ra nimo ma'am?
Okay, Doc.
Sige ma'am.
You must ensure the patient's comfort and position by placing a pillow below the knee. This will also ease the splinting process. You must then take proper measurements for the splint. Use the measuring tape to measure by starting off with 2 finger breadths below or distal the popliteal fossa, going down beyond or 4 inches past the toes. After taking the measurements, we can now prepare the splint to be applied. Prepare an L-shaped posterior splint and a U-shaped stirrup. In preparing the splint material, put in warm water and squeeze out the excess. Before applying the splint, we must put on a stockinette on the leg, which protects the skin from sharp edges of the splint and also from sweating. This is placed up to the tip of the patella and well past the patient's toes. Also ensure that the patient's foot is on a 90-degree angle to prevent it from being stiff. During the application of the splint, remember to keep the foot in a neutral position to maintain functional range and mobility. This can be maintained by pressing or bracing the patient's foot against your body. Place the posterior splint 2 finger breadths below the popliteal fossa as to prevent any impingement of the vessels and nerves. Fold the excess splint behind the toe. Then place the U-shaped stirrup covering the lateral and medial sides of the leg up to just above the calf muscle. This will limit movement and facilitate healing. We then wrap the elastic bandage around the splint and leg, snug but not too tight, being careful not to pull the bandage as we roll it around the splint. So remember to just keep on rolling but not pulling. Don't wrap too tight to avoid hypoperfusion. Also remember to keep the foot at a 90-degree angle while putting enough pressure on the heel. The end of the excess stockinette past the toes will be folded back to cover the excess splint and to expose the toes. A second elastic bandage is then used to wrap the foot and the ankle using a figure of 8 method. Then make sure to expose the patient's toes as to adequately assess the circulation. And similar to the first elastic bandage, remember to wrap it snug but not too tight. Roll the upper end of the stockinette from the tip of the patella to above the calf and over the splint to provide more comfort. Then a last bandage is applied as the final wrap. Roll the bandage over the leg and foot, snug but not too tight all the way down to secure the previous bandages. Make sure to mold the splint and to make sure that there are no rough edges. Then check adequate perfusion on the toes by checking the capillary refill time so that you can also assess the proper fit of the splint on the patient's leg. And that's it. You've already done a short leg posterior mold.